So it's great to hear Tim and Steve talk about this stuff from a sort of big world perspective. Tim's corporate background, Steve's agency background. But I think for most of us here, we probably live in a slightly different universe because we are running small companies by and large, and we know this stuff is important. We've probably heard of content marketing. We want to do it. We want to get involved with it. We see everybody else doing it. But how do we actually do that? So what I want to talk about for the next quarter of an hour is what I really learned during my days at the BBC and how that's informed the way we approach content marketing for our clients, which obviously in our case is video. And as you've already heard from Steve and Tim, as Steve put it quite provocatively possibly, whatever the question is, the answer is probably video. And you could say, well, of course you would say that, you run a video production company, and that's true, but the fact is that video is an extremely effective tool when it's used correctly and can be incredibly powerful. So I'm going to talk about a method that we use, which we could roughly call the broadcast method, because it comes, that is very much where its antecedents are. It's based on what they do in the broadcast world. It's what most of my career was spent doing, and using these broadcast methods to create content very effectively. There are two words that sum up the broadcast method, I think, and that's authenticity and efficiency. And those two things are very important. They're particularly important, the efficiency one certainly, for small businesses with limited budgets. So I'm going to talk about that as well. But before I do all that, I want to just play you two very quick videos, because I want to just talk about why, this will help us understand why the broadcast method works in the way it does.
Hi, I'm Scott Wilson, President and Chief Executive Officer at CCOM. I'm standing in the brand new 30 Stern Street in London. How exciting. We're going to be open for business on January 5th. The great thing about it is that all of the services you are expecting to be here with a brand new look, brand new brand, and all the same folks you're used to having serve you will be here.
Anybody spot anything wrong with that video? Yeah, it was a very early one. Okay, well, you know, that was, on the plus side, you know, fair play to him. You know, he's the CEO of his company. He's opening a new shop, I think, somewhere in Canada. Found this on YouTube, by the way. And he wants to get the message out there. So, you know, fair play. He's having a go. He's got his mate with a video camera, obviously a reasonable camera. The picture quality's good. The microphone's clearly on the camera. I mean, I love the extraneous noises, the beeps and the bangs and all that sort of stuff. You struggle to hear him. But it's more than the quality thing that's wrong with that. What I would say is fundamentally wrong with it is that he's talking directly to us. And you may think, well, that's a sort of slightly odd thing to say. But let me play you the second video, which funnily enough is one of ours. But I want to play you this just to show a slightly different style, shall we say.
I think, first of all, to keep the children centre stage, it's very easy when you're divorcing to only think of your own position and your own concerns and your own anxieties. I think the minute people do think about how it's going to impact the children, they do adopt a slightly different position. So they become more amenable to one another. They recognise the need to work together to a common goal, and it creates some form of agreement. And once they've got one agreement, other things can flow from that.
Okay, so that was clearly a very different style of video, and the reason I wanted to show you that, Woolly & Co, who are the people behind that video, the company behind it, they also want to shout about what they're doing. They're family law specialists, by the way, and they also want to do exactly the same thing as that Canadian guy. They want to get people to know about what they do and that they're experts, but they've taken a very different approach. They have decided to talk about some of the issues that surround the work they do. So you could call that thought leadership, or you could call it helpful advice, hints and tips, whatever you want to call it. So we've created lots of videos for them on that sort of subject. But the other thing, and I think the more important thing actually, is that is clearly an interview. The person Tamara was talking there, she was talking to an interviewer, and she was talking in a conversational way. It wasn't scripted, it wasn't a lecture, and it is my belief, and I think it is the belief of broadcasters as well, that the interview forms a very, very important element of nearly everything that the broadcasters do, because it is an extremely powerful way of getting a message across. If you can get somebody to talk in their own voice, in their own words, to get that expertise, that message, that thought leadership across, then you're onto a winner. You can do something really good. And this brings me to the authenticity point, and the way the broadcast method is good on authenticity is because although the Canadian guy, I mean, I'm sure he's a very authentic guy, and I'm sure he is passionate about his business and all that, but it's quite hard to see through that when somebody's reading a teleprompter or they're talking to a camera, and he kind of wasn't even sure where to start, when was the camera on or not. Perhaps he turned it on himself and ran round, I don't know. So there's all sorts of things that get in the way when people are talking directly to a camera. Whereas when they are doing an interview, they are literally having a conversation. And the interview therefore becomes the narrative that drives the story. Real people speaking real unscripted words. And that is the proxy that Steve talked about earlier, the proxy for the face-to-face thing that clearly, as Tim said, is really the best way to communicate. You and I in a room together, we can have a chat and we can really, you know, achieve things and get our messages across. But if we don't have that opportunity, and let's face it, to get to most of our prospects we don't, then the video interview becomes a hugely powerful way of doing that. But it also is a great way of creating content. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the issue of professionalism as well. Tim mentioned professional video and all that sort of thing, and people like Tesco's and Sainsbury's have their own in-house professionals. That's very nice for them. Most of us obviously can't have that luxury. You can clearly film this stuff yourself. You can do it on an iPhone. You can do it on your handy cam from home. And you know, you could probably make a decent fist of it if you try hard and you look at a few videos on YouTube to teach yourself how to do it, download a bit of software for the editing, and you can do all that. But I promise you, it's very unlikely to look professional if you don't know what you're doing with lighting and cameras and microphones and that sort of thing. So if you choose to go down that route of creating something yourself, because obviously it feels like it's more cost effective, bear in mind the following. Firstly, there is a cost, clearly, in terms of your time, because you've got to learn how to do it, and you've got to actually then do it, and you've got to edit it and all sorts of things. So it may take more time than you expected, particularly if you're not used to doing it. And the second thing is that whatever you produce is a direct reflection on your brand. So that if you create something which isn't perfect, which is slightly shaky, a bit dodgy, then the people that watch that are going to immediately associate that with your brand. And if your brand is all about quality and passion and delivering the goods and all that sort of thing, and then they watch a slightly dodgy video, then clearly that might have a negative effect. I would say it will have a negative effect on your brand. So you need to be very careful about that. So if that is the case, then we've got to find a way of doing this stuff professionally that isn't going to cost a ridiculous amount of money. And I'm going to come to that in a second. But before I do that, I just want to quickly talk a little bit more about the interview, because the interview itself as well is not just a person talking to somebody you can't see off camera. And there are four examples here. In this first example, this is an interview with a lady where you don't see the interviewer. I'm not going to show you these videos. I'm just going to show you the stills because it's quicker. But she was talking, and so it's just a sound bite, probably 20 seconds, 30 seconds. In the second one, this is a more in-depth. You see the interviewer, you see close-ups of the interviewee as well. So that's a different style. So that might be a longer interview. It might be a more in-depth thing, but it might be cut up into short ones as well. This is a chat show format. Clearly, it's still an interview, but a chat show format can lend itself to more, slightly more entertaining. It can be more humorous because you've got more people. And then the final one with this geezer in a lorry. This is what we call documentary style, reporter-led. So this might be 2 or 3 minutes long. A reporter at the beginning saying, "I'm here today to meet so-and-so," setting it up, and then you go to the interviews. But all of them use interview fundamentally for what they do, and I think that's the point about this broadcast method. The interview is the thing that drives the story. So let me come on now to the second advantage, as I said, of the broadcast method, and that is efficiency. Because the broadcast method is a very simple way of creating content. If you've got people that know what they're doing, if you've got a good crew and a good interviewer, and you've done a little bit of preparation with the person you're going to interview, then you can create an enormous amount of content very quickly. So that preparation, I mean, we're not talking huge amounts of preparation, but we are talking thinking about the questions, for example. What are the key messages that the client wants to get across, that you want to get across if you're making video? What is it you want your viewers to hear from you? What do you want them to get from it? And once you've got that, it's fairly easy to construct the questions that will allow you to express that. So you need to do that in advance, and you can create a very efficient shoot by doing that. Essentially a small amount of pre-planning, and the video professionals certainly should be guiding you through this bit, will reap a huge reward. And by way of an example, I want to just finish by talking about a job we did about a year ago for a charity in London. And this charity wanted to populate a new website they were doing with lots and lots of video. It was something they'd made a decision, their advisors had advised them that they needed lots of video, and so they wanted to put loads of video on there. Now, they had a very limited budget, so clearly they weren't going to go out and spend the sort of money that HSBC allegedly are spending. Not that we know what HSBC is spending, because Tim wouldn't tell us, but they certainly weren't in that league. They're a small charity. But they did want lots of video. Now, they were holding a seminar in the City of London, a sort of not dissimilar to this, with some workshops and some talks and that sort of thing. And they had about 20, 25 of their delegates, their customers, if you like, coming along to this. And of course, they would be members of their senior management there who would be running the day. So we talked to them about this, and we decided that would be an opportunity for us to capture some of this content, some of this for their content marketing. So we went along very early in the morning, and we set up in a room next to where the seminar was being held at this place in the City of London. And we planned the day with them in advance. We'd worked out what the questions were, we'd worked out what the messages were. We even went as far as we had a framework for the website. We knew even where the videos were going to end up. So they'd really worked this all out with the help of their advisor. So we knew exactly what we were trying to get from the day. And then with the help, we actually normally wear a crew of two. Matt would be typically there as a cameraman, standing at the back there, myself perhaps as an interviewer stroke director. But on this occasion, we took a production manager with us as well, because there was so much to get through and so many people to organise. So we had somebody herding, if you like, getting the right person at the right time into the room, extracting them from the seminar for a few minutes. Obviously, in terms of the staff of the charity, they all knew they were going to do this, and they knew what they were going to answer. So they came in at the appropriate time. We interviewed them. We got the messages from them, but we also got some of the delegates who volunteered to take part, and we got testimonial, case study type material from them. And we filmed, I think we did about 16 different people that day. So you think, well, okay, 16, that doesn't sound too bad. What's that, 2 an hour if it's an 8-hour day? But out of that day, we got, believe it or not, 90 videos, 90 videos, plus some film with the presentation as well, which was another sort of thing they wanted. So we got 90 different videos to populate their website with, which is an enormous amount of content. And that is an extreme example, I have to say. We don't normally get 90 videos out of a day's shoot. But that shoot cost them approximately £3,000 all in. Probably VAT on top of that, but £3,000. And if you do the maths, which I'm sure you've all done in your head, that is about £33 a video. Now, I think you'll agree that for a professional video, £33 is not a bad price. It was, needless to say, they were delighted with this stuff. Now, these aren't glamorous, music-laden, sunset and sort of palm tree type videos. They're not promo videos. They're simple, short interviews with people giving their opinion, their thoughts about things. They are basic communication tools, okay? But that's what you need. You don't need the traditional promo anymore, because people don't care about that stuff now. They just want to get the information they need. So if they go to that website and they see a client of that charity talking about something, and it'll be labelled on the site so they can see exactly what it is, why I joined this, why I became a member of this charity, or whatever it is, they can click on that, and 30 seconds later they know all about that. And that is very, very powerful. And by the way, I should show you what 90 videos looks like. It's quite a lot, as you can see. there you are. There's all 90 videos that we did with that charity, and I think they were delighted. So the point I'm trying to make here is that with good planning and with a good professional crew, and if you know the sort of content you want, you can create an enormous amount of content very quickly and at relatively low cost. So thank you very much.